My family kicked me out on Thanksgiving because I refused to pay for my brother's education, but they forgot that I had financed them completely, so I left them with nothing. Thanksgiving was supposed to be a time for gratitude. But that year, it became the day I was reminded how easy it is to be erased, how the people you've given everything to can turn on you the moment you say no. And it all started because I didn't want to pay for my brother's tuition. Not because I couldn't. Because I shouldn't have to. To understand what happened, you need to know what came before. I'm the oldest of three. My parents had me young, barely out of high school, and by the time I hit my mid-20s, I was already the one they leaned on. When Dad lost his job during the 2008 recession, I helped cover the mortgage. When Mom's car broke down, I bought her a new one. When my sister needed braces, I wrote the check. No questions. No guilt trips. Just support. Because that's what family does, right? You help. You step up. And for years, I did. Quietly. Without asking for anything in return. Then came Nathan, my younger brother. The surprise baby, as my parents liked to call him. 12 years younger than me, coddled since birth, never told no. While I worked 2 jobs through college, Nathan got a car for his 16th birthday and a gaming setup that probably cost more than my first semester of tuition. Still, I didn't say much. He was the baby. I got it. But as he grew up, so did the expectations. When he slacked off in school, they blamed his teachers. When he crashed the car, they blamed the road. When he decided not to apply for scholarships, they assumed I'd cover the difference. And I always did. Until that year. Nathan had gotten into a private university, nothing Ivy League, but expensive enough to raise eyebrows. He didn't apply for aid. Didn't work a job. Didn't even pretend to look for alternatives. He just showed up to our family group chat one morning in November and said, "So when are we doing the transfer for spring tuition?" No, please. No, can we talk about it? Just expectation. I didn't answer right away. A few hours later, Mom texted me separately. Can you believe how grown up he is? We're all so proud. Just need your help one more time, sweetheart. It's only $22,000. Only. Like 22 grand was a drop in the bucket. I stared at that message for a long time. And something in me shifted. I thought about the down payment I had postponed on my own place. The vacation I'd never taken. The retirement account I was funding at half the rate I should have been. And most of all, I thought about how none of them, not once, had stopped to ask what I needed. So I typed a reply. Simple. Clear. Firm. I'm not paying for Nathan's school. It took 10 minutes for the first reply to come in. From Dad. Excuse me? Then Mom. What's going on? Is something wrong? And finally, Nathan himself. Wow. After everything I've done for you? I almost laughed at that one. Done for me? I opened my banking app. Pulled up the family expenses for the past 10 years. Mortgage payments. Car notes. Medical bills. Groceries. School fees. $186,000, give or take. All from me. I didn't respond to the group chat again. I didn't want to have that fight over text. So I showed up to Thanksgiving. Not to stir the pot, but because I still held onto some thread of hope that face-to-face, they'd understand. I was wrong. The house smelled like cinnamon and turkey when I walked in. Kids were running around. Nathan was on the couch, glued to his phone. Mom was in the kitchen, but she didn't greet me. Dad gave me a stiff nod. Dinner was quiet. Too quiet. No one asked about my work. No one thanked me for bringing wine. When I tried to make small talk, Nathan rolled his eyes. And then, as Mom was clearing the plates, it began. So, she said sharply, are you going to talk to your brother, or just ruin his future? I looked up. Stunned. Excuse me? You heard me, she said. You're letting him fail. I'm letting him be responsible, I said calmly. There's a difference. Nathan scoffed. Unbelievable. You've always been jealous. That got me. Jealous? Of what? Being the only adult in this family? Dad stood up. You need to leave. The whole table froze. Seriously? I asked. We're done letting you hold money over our heads. I looked at all of them. The people I had fed, clothed, supported for over a decade. And in that moment, it was clear. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a wallet. So I stood up, took my coat, and walked out. Not just from the dinner. From them. I sat in my car in the driveway for a long time after I left. The sounds of Thanksgiving still echoed faintly from the house, laughter, music, clinking glasses. None of it meant for me. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel like I owed them anything. I wasn't angry. I was done. There's a difference. I didn't answer their calls that night. Or the next day. Or the one after that. And when the text started rolling in half-hearted apologies wrapped in guilt trips, I muted the group chat. Then I opened my laptop, logged into my accounts, and started untangling my name from every single part of their lives. First, the utilities. The water, gas, and electricity bills were all under my name. Automatic payments, too. I had started covering them when Dad was unemployed, and somehow I'd never stopped. I scheduled cancellations for the following week. Then the phone plans. All 5 family lines were on my account. I had added them temporarily when Mom said switching providers was too confusing. I paid the final bill and shut the plan down. Next, car insurance. Mom's car, the one I bought her, was still registered under my policy. So was Nathan's. So was my sister's, who hadn't even texted me once since Thanksgiving. I removed them all. Policy terminated. Then came the big one, the mortgage. Technically, it was their house. But when Dad's credit tanked, I refinanced it under my name. My payments. My collateral. They paid me back for a few months. Then it became family help. Then it became expected. I didn't evict them. Not yet. But I called the bank and set a new condition: if I wasn't reimbursed monthly, I'd begin the process to reclaim the deed. The voice on the other end was polite. Surprised. But confirmed it was legal. I had all the documents. I sat back in my chair when I was done, staring at the quiet hum of my computer screen. One by one, I turned off the lights in their world. Not to punish them. To remind them whose power they had been living under. They had kicked me out of a home I had been funding. Because I said no. Because I stopped playing their game. On Monday morning, the calls started. My sister first. Her number came up as unknown now. Her phone had been deactivated when the plan ended. "Hey," she said, voice tight. "Why is my phone not working?" "Ask Mom." Then Dad. "You shut off the gas? You told me I wasn't family anymore. So I stopped paying family bills." "You're being spiteful." "No. I'm being fair." Click. By the end of the week, the emails started coming. Not from them. From companies. Overdue notices. Late payment reminders. Questions about property title disputes. I forwarded them all to Kim, my lawyer. Yes, I had hired one. I wasn't going to be caught off guard again. The next Sunday, I got a knock at my door. I opened it to see my mother. She looked smaller. Thinner. Not physically. Just less. The way people look when their certainty has cracked. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. No invitation inside. She wrung her hands. "Things are bad," she said. "The house, everything, it's all unraveling." "I know. Your father won't admit it, but we need help." I looked at her. "You needed help when I was paying the bills. You needed help when I covered Nathan's mistakes. And when I finally said no, you kicked me out of your home." Tears welled up in her eyes. "We were angry. Hurt. We thought you were abandoning us. You never asked if I was tired. You just assumed I'd keep showing up." "I'm sorry." "I believe you," I said. "But I don't trust you." She nodded slowly. "Is there anything we can do to fix this?" I thought about it. Really thought. Then I said, "You can start over. The way I had to. Without leaning on someone else's back." I didn't slam the door after she left. Didn't cry. Didn't feel victorious. Just clear. Clarity is quiet. It doesn't gloat. It just stands tall and says, I won't carry what broke me anymore. The following month, I moved into a new condo. Nothing fancy. But it was mine. Paid for entirely from the savings. I finally let myself use savings I'd been hoarding in case they needed something else. I bought furniture that wasn't secondhand. Replaced the 10-year-old laptop I kept using while covering other people's upgrades. Booked a trip. A real one. No guilt. No itinerary filled with calls home. Thanksgiving had broken something. But it had also rebuilt something else. Not a wall. A boundary. A line between who I was and who I would never be again. It's funny how people only notice a foundation after it's gone. When it's steady, invisible, holding everything up, they don't think about it. They walk on it. They build on it. They take it for granted. But when it cracks, when it disappears, that's when they start to panic. That's when they realize, without it, nothing stands. That was me. I was the foundation. And now that I had walked away, my family was learning to live in a house without a floor. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, Nathan called me. From a new number. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Hello? There was a pause. Then a sigh. Hey. It's me. I didn't say anything. I didn't mean what I said, he continued. About you being jealous. I let the silence hang. Mom's freaking out. Dad's trying to act like nothing's wrong. The mortgage stuff is a mess. They said you threatened to take the house? I didn't threaten, I said calmly. I informed them. If they want to keep it, they can refinance. Without me. He was quiet for a while. Then. I didn't realize how much you were doing for everyone. That's because you didn't care to ask. He didn't argue. I'm taking a leave from school, he added. Just until things stabilize. That's probably smart. Can I stay with you for a while? There it was. The ask. The test. The chance to slip back into my old role. I could have said yes. But I didn't. I think you need to figure out what it feels like to stand on your own. Another pause. Right, he said. Yeah. I get it. And then he hung up. That call stayed with me longer than I expected. Not because I felt guilty. But because it was the first time Nathan had ever spoken to me like an equal. He wasn't angry. He wasn't entitled. He was humbled. And maybe that was the first sign that things were starting to shift. The next letter came from the mortgage lender. A formal notice. My name still tied to the property. Payments 2 months behind. A request for clarification about ownership and a warning about the risk of foreclosure. I forwarded it to Kim, my lawyer. She responded quickly. I'll handle it. Let's move toward full title removal. You've done more than enough. And just like that, the process to legally detach myself from the house began. They'd have to qualify on their own now. Credit check. Employment verification. Down payment. All the things I'd carried silently for years were finally dropped back in their laps. Meanwhile, I focused on me. Started cooking again, not because someone needed feeding, but because I missed the ritual. Bought a good mattress. Started jogging every morning. Not to escape stress, but because it felt good to move my body for no one else's sake but mine. I met someone, too. Ella. She worked at the bookstore I stopped into on rainy Saturdays. She made terrible coffee but always had good music playing behind the register. We started talking. Then grabbing lunch. Then spending whole weekends together. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was balancing a relationship on top of family obligations. I felt free to show up completely. Without fear that I'd be pulled away by another crisis that wasn't mine to fix. By January, the mortgage was officially out of my name. The title re-recorded. The responsibility fully theirs. Kim sent me the final document with a subject line that just said, free. I stared at it for a long time. Then printed it. Framed it. Not out of spite. Out of gratitude. Because it marked the moment I stepped out from under something that had weighed me down for half my life. One evening, I ran into an old neighbor at the grocery store. He recognized me instantly. You still helping your folks? He asked casually. I smiled. No. Not anymore. His eyebrows lifted. Oh. They're doing their own thing now. He nodded slowly. Good for you. You gave a lot. Most wouldn't. I thanked him and moved on. But as I walked down the aisle, a thought struck me. They didn't just lose my money. They lost me. The one who showed up. The one who covered the gaps. The one who made life easier, even when it cost him everything. And now, they were learning what it meant to do it without me. By spring, I was used to the quiet. No buzzing family group chat. No sudden requests for money. No middle-of-the-night emergencies that weren't mine but always ended up at my door. And instead of feeling lonely, I felt light. Ella asked me once, during a lazy Sunday breakfast, "Do you ever miss them?" I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. "No," I said, after a beat. "But I do miss who I thought they were." She didn't press. She just nodded, and that was enough. I started therapy, something I'd put off for years. I told myself I didn't need it. That I was fine. But the truth was, I didn't even know what fine looked like. I'd been in crisis mode for so long, I'd forgotten what stillness felt like. In our second session, my therapist asked me, "What did you want from them?" I didn't have an answer right away. Eventually, I said, "I wanted them to see me. Not just what I could give. Just me." That was the crux of it, wasn't it? It had never been about the money. It had been about how invisible I was, even while I was holding the whole house together. One afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address, but the script was unmistakable, my mother's. Inside was a short note. "We refinanced the house. Barely made it. But it's ours now. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. That's okay. I just wanted to say thank you. For everything you did. And I'm sorry we forgot who you were when we thought we didn't need you anymore." No ask. No manipulation. Just a simple truth. And honestly, it meant more than I expected it would. But I didn't respond. Because I wasn't ready. And maybe I never would be. I focused on building a new kind of life. Not one based on obligation. One built on choice. I started mentoring a few local college students, nothing formal. Just coffee and career chats. I joined a small neighborhood book club. Ella and I took a trip to the coast, and for the first time, I didn't have to keep my phone on in case something happened. Nothing did. And it was perfect. I kept Grandpa's old watch on my nightstand. He was the only one in the family who never asked me for anything, but always made sure I had what I needed. He used to say, "You can't carry someone forever, not if they don't want to walk." Back then, I didn't understand it. Now I did. The thing about walking away from people you love is, it feels wrong. Even when it's the only right thing to do. It doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like surgery, necessary, painful, and slow to heal. But the scar? The scar reminds you that you survived something. And you're still here. A year passed. Thanksgiving came around again. This time, it looked different. No invitation. No passive-aggressive text asking if I'd come to my senses. Just quiet. And honestly, it was the best Thanksgiving I'd ever had. Ella and I made dinner together in my kitchen. Small plates. Too many sides. We ate until we couldn't move, laughed until we cried, and watched movies on the couch under a shared blanket. There was no guilt. No performance. No silent calculations over who paid for what or who owed who. It was the kind of night I didn't know I'd been missing until I finally lived it. Around that same time, Nathan sent a message. It wasn't long. Just a paragraph. "I've been working full-time. Finally learned what it feels like to be tired all the time. I don't blame you anymore. For any of it. We all expected too much and gave you too little. Hope you're okay." No pressure to reply. I read it twice. Then again. And this time, I didn't feel anger. I felt distance. Not the painful kind. The healed kind. Like when a wound closes, and all that's left is a light scar you sometimes run your fingers over, just to remember. I replied, eventually. Not with bitterness. Not with an olive branch, either. Just honesty. I am okay. I hope you are too. I hope you understand that sometimes, stepping away is the most loving thing someone can do for themselves. He heart reacted. Nothing more. That was enough. I'd spent most of my life being the safety net. And for a long time, I thought that was my purpose. To carry. To fix. To make sure everyone else didn't fall. But what no one tells you is, nets wear out. Even the strongest rope frays. And if no one ever checks to see how you're holding up, eventually, you snap. The real lesson? You don't have to catch everyone. Sometimes, it's enough to catch yourself. A few months later, I walked past the old family house. I didn't mean to. I was running errands, and the GPS rerouted through an old neighborhood. There it was, still standing. Slightly worn. A new coat of paint, some unfamiliar plants in the yard. It looked smaller than I remembered. Less like the fortress of obligation I once saw it as. More like just a house. Not a home. Not anymore. I didn't stop. Didn't linger. I just kept walking. And it felt good. Not triumphant. Not nostalgic. Just done. Ella and I started talking about the future. A real one. Together. She asked if I could see myself as a dad someday. I paused, not because I doubted, but because the question was so different from the ones I used to ask myself. I used to ask, what do they need from me? Now I ask, what do I want to build? The answer surprised me. Yes, I said. I think I could be good at it. Because I had learned what not to do. And more importantly, how to show up for someone without disappearing in the process. I still keep a spreadsheet of what I spent on my family over the years. Not out of resentment. Out of remembrance. It reminds me of what I gave. Not just the money. But the patience. The years. The love that was unconditional until it was tested. Now. I love myself with that same loyalty. I show up for me. The way I once did for everyone else. Here's what I know now. Boundaries are not punishments. Saying no is not cruel. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care, it means you finally learned to care about yourself, too. And when the people who once leaned on you choose to forget that, you let them fall. Because falling is how some people learn to stand. So no, I didn't lose a family. I left a system. One built on my silence. On my sacrifice. On my refusal to push back. And now, I've built something better. Not perfect. But mine. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.